Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear friends, this is the last full day of our meditation retreat, and we will be talking today about the Upanisa Sutta, the Sutta on proximate cause, which has been named by Bhikkhu Bodhi as transcendental dependent origination. This sutta has got it brings out the inspiring and enjoyable factors of awakening: faith, joy, rapture, tranquility, happiness, supporting our meditation and supporting the opening of insight. And then just a little while ago in our morning chanting, we chanted the 4 divine abidings, spreading over the entire world: the mind of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, making the mind abundant, exalted, unlimited, without hostility and without ill will. So I want to talk a bit this morning about an approach to meditation to develop and to arouse these inspiring, uplifting, beautiful states of mind, even if when you come to the meditation cushion, your mind is perhaps not so beautiful, or especially if when you come and arrive for your meditation, the mind is not so beautiful. How can you bring up a beautiful state of mind when it doesn't exist? There's a different course that I have taken and that I teach sometimes about the practice of loving kindness, which is something that I got a number of years ago from Bhante Sujato. And this is the method of meditation that I'm going to describe for you in brief. If you like it, you can take the course by Googling Bhante Sujato and the expression guided metta meditation. The first part of this approach is to come to meditation with a very unbiased, truthful, relaxed understanding of where we're at, without trying to exert any manipulation or any push or pull in any direction, just to see what's there. So by practicing the 4 foundations of mindfulness and learning how to review and cognize the body, this living body, to understand the state of the body, the conditions of the body, the reality of the body, by learning to be sensitive and be aware of the feelings, both the feelings that are arising from the body and also the mental feelings And again, this is, it's not pushing or pulling, it's just saying, this is what we have. So there's no fault, no blame. If the body is sore, if the body is aching, or if the body is feeling wonderful and relaxed and great, not exerting a preference, but just the meditating mind. You could, one phrase is thinking of the mind in the middle. So the observing mind, the awareness, is just seeing what's there. And likewise, being able to discern the states of mind, which are the list that's given in the 4 foundations of mindfulness is very useful. The mind which is affected by greed, or the mind which is free from greed. The mind which is affected by anger, or the mind which is free from anger. The mind which is agitated, or the mind which is sunken. The mind which is limited, or the mind which is unlimited or unsurpassed. How often we notice, like, if the mind is affected by anger or sensual desire, that's much easier to notice. But how often do we make a note and recognize and acknowledge that the mind is free from anger or the mind is free from sensual desire? Although that may be even the majority of the time. One may go through our life without being angry, but we don't notice those moments of freedom. So developing this very clear awareness is to be able to notice and recognize all the states of mind, noticing the factors of Dhamma, noticing whether if you learn the factors of awakening, and you can see whether those factors are present or not present. You can memorize the 5 hindrances and notice whether any of the hindrances are present or not present in the mind. So this may take you, a person, months or years to be able to cultivate the habit of mindful awareness and be able to arrive for the morning reflection. And, it's just like, good morning, how are you? And see, okay, how am I right now? Having developed that clarity, then in this method of metta meditation, the idea is to begin with oneself and bring up a simple phrase of metta meditation. So this is expressing in words the thought of loving kindness or the thought of non-harming. It doesn't have to be a long paragraph. It can be just a few words, something that's meaningful to you, that's expressing your best aspiration for yourself at this time. If you were to be, to have the best, to be safe, to be well, to be free from danger. They recommend choosing actually a clear phrase. So this is, it's establishing a verbal formation. Now we've been studying for a few days about dependent origination. So this verbal formation is a cause. And so you're setting up that cause, and because of that cause, then the rest of the meditation procedure is developing through causation, through cause and effect. You would pronounce this phrase of kindness for yourself very clearly, like silently, but enunciating the words and feeling the actual shape of the words of loving kindness. And then the next step is to be aware of the meaning. So from the words of loving kindness, arouse the thought of loving kindness. Bringing sincerity to the meditation, not just giving lip service, but thinking as deeply as you can, what does it truly mean to be well, to be happy, to be safe? Then we know, because of dependent origination, that every contact where the consciousness comes in contact with an object, that there will inevitably be a feeling associated with that. And so then you use this high state of mindfulness that you've developed and notice if there's any change in the feeling that you experience as a result of the bringing in the thought of kindness. For some people, very easily the thought of loving kindness brings in like a tidal wave of pleasant feelings. For some people, the feeling associated with kindness is much more subtle or tentative or not so clear, so easy to recognize. For some people, the feeling of kindness is a neutral feeling and not a pleasant feeling. When the person who taught me about neutral feeling connected to kindness mentioned that she had always thought that she was doing the loving kindness practice wrong because she always had this very clear neutral feeling. But then in exploring it, it came out that her childhood was, the family life in childhood was filled with a lot of kind of chaos and conflict. And her mom, trying to protect the children from the chaos of the extended family, made a lot of effort to create like a safe space for the children to come and be, and where they could like do their homework, and it would be like a peaceful space, a space that was kind of like well ordered and calm. So the mother's love was being expressed through calmness and bringing a space of calmness in the life of the children. And so then, my friend, because of that life experience, when she thought of kindness, kindness is calmness. So it can be whatever it is. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, but you notice the Vedana, the feeling tone, which is connected with the thought of kindness. As you go along, you continue repeating that phrase of kindness. You continue intentionally bringing up the thought of kindness, and then you notice the feeling connected to that. The feeling is not something that really can be controlled. You can make a choice about your thought. You can make a choice about continuing to repeat the phrase. So this is where your right effort is, to be faithful to the practice and keep on through the whole hour, repeating the phrase and arousing the thought or the intention of kindness. And then the feeling comes by itself. You might notice that the feeling of kindness is happening somewhere in the body, a sense of relaxation. I don't know for you, will it be in the face? Will it be the shoulders or the neck relax? Will it be the heart? Somewhere in the body, the feeling of kindness has got a physical counterpart. And then you can make the feeling of kindness, it's like the learning sign. So then you are tracking and watching and monitoring the feeling of kindness situated in the body. And by directing your awareness to that place in the body, then the bodily feeling associated with kindness becomes more clear. And one can allow the feeling of kindness to expand. The instruction that's given is, you could imagine like a pat of butter, and you're spreading the feeling of kindness on the body. Or you could imagine like a fountain, which is sort of overflowing. And then as the water is gently flowing out of the fountain, then the feeling of kindness is spreading through the body. And you allow the feeling of kindness to expand and spread until the entire body is pervaded by the feeling of kindness, or the feeling associated with kindness. If you lose the feeling of kindness, it's because the mind has slipped away from the thought of kindness. So like you got distracted, you lost the meditation. So the feeling of kindness is like a barometer that is telling you whether you're on track with the meditation or if you've gone off track. If you go off track, just come back to the repeating the phrase, having the sincere thought, the intention of kindness, and see if just observe what feeling comes in from that. The way Bhante Sujata teaches this meditation, he emphasizes that if you're not able to stay on kindness, you're not able to stay in this meditation, that then there must be some kind of hindrance that's blocking you. And then to explore and investigate, what is the hindrance? What's the problem? Why is it so difficult for you just to think of being kind to yourself and to be able to sit for 20 minutes or 30 minutes holding onto the thought of being kind to yourself? Is there some reason? Do you think that you don't deserve happiness? Do you, in some kind of level or way, do you hate yourself? Are you just too tired, or don't have the energy, or whatever the reason is? You then got to take care of that. And he says, practice on yourself as long as it takes to overcome whatever the hindrance is that's blocking you, until you are able to reliably, anytime you want to, sit down in meditation, develop with the mind in the middle, develop the the mindfulness about your state, the state of the body, the state of mind, state of the feelings, the mental and physical feelings that are present. Bring in the thought of kindness, using the phrase, make your mind sincere with the real intention for your own welfare and happiness, and then observe the feelings, pervade the body with the feeling of kindness, and keep holding on to that for the rest of the meditation hour. So if you suppose it took you 10 minutes to kind of like get onto it, get on the track and get like well settled into this loving kindness meditation, and then for another 20 minutes or 40 minutes or 50 minutes, you hold that and you stay with the thought of kindness for yourself. After you're well able to do this, then you take one of the different persons. This method is using the 4 persons. So a dear person, a neutral person, and a disliked person or a difficult person. They suggest, in this technique, we suggest not just taking an abstraction of a generic idea of a loved person or all the lovable people in the whole world, but think of a particular person who is admired, who is a mentor, somebody who's really helped you, somebody, your true friend, someone who's very lovable. For the purpose of training, they say don't choose a person where it's mixed emotions. Like if it's a complicated relationship, you can generate kindness for that complicated person later on after you've learned the method very well. And they recommend at the beginning not to choose the person that you want to have sex with, because that also then it can arouse a sensual desire while you're trying to practice meditation. So that can be complicated. You can work with these later. So with each person or each kind of person, there are different hindrances that could come along. You learn to work with a variety, whatever the hindrance is that makes it difficult for you to bring up that beloved person and to generate the thought of kindness for that individual, and to hold it and to stay for the full meditation hour with your whole body is pervaded by the feeling connected with this wish, this intention for the welfare and happiness of that individual. By the time you've gone through all of this, you would have developed a skill in overcoming a variety of different kinds of hindrances, different kinds of obstacles to meditation. You become more like adept, and after that, your ability to come close to obtaining jhana or concentration is much more well developed. Remember, we said earlier that the definition of samma samadhi or jhana is obtaining the mind being secluded from sensual desire and secluded from unwholesome states of mind. That means the hindrances have all been set aside, and then in concentration, blissful and bliss and happiness arise. So this metta meditation, if you're not close to knowing how to do jhana, metta meditation is a good practice that can bring you at least into the neighborhood of jhana. And then kind of like the last thing that you would want to do if you were in like access, what they call access concentration, being kind of like close to entering into jhana, then you might forget about the individuals and let your thought of kindness go without limitation to all beings everywhere, without any restriction, any limitation, without any kind of definition about what kind of person it is, whether it's a dear person or a difficult person, no limitations whatsoever. And just as you've kind of pervaded and saturated the whole body with the feeling of kindness, so it's like every cell of the body is saturated with kindness and with feeling connected to kindness, one may experience sort of like bursting out beyond the confines of the body, that this thought of kindness is going out over the entire world. This practice has been a go-to for me for a long time. And I've noticed that even when I'm not specifically doing a metta meditation or practicing with the 4 divine abidings, that this kind of form of like mindful awareness of the body, starting where it's easy to be clear, where mindfulness can settle and start because it's clear. Let's suppose we're doing a breath meditation, and then the breath is clear. Let's say, the throat or the chest or something. I'm easily able to notice the sensation of breath, and I settle the mind. And so it's like the awareness is like a spotlight or a flashlight, which is directed to that part of the body where the sensation of breathing or where the in and out breath can be clearly noticed. And then in the sutta on in and out breathing, it mentions being mindful of the entire breath body. And now I know there's different interpretations that different scholars and practitioners have. One of the ideas is this entire physical body from head to toe. And so you could like expand, like say the breath is very clear at the chest area, but then you can expand the field of awareness, and you can notice like the diaphragm, down to the diaphragm, up to the chest, and you can notice the sensation, coming up as far as the sinuses. So like this much of the body, you can experience the breath, and then you can experience like with the rise and fall of the breath, there's like a very subtle, like a movement of the shoulders. And so the awareness is sort of like expanding out. And then breath, to me, it's related to oxygen. And so the blood is becoming oxygenated, and the energy of sort of like the life force is being sustained. And so then as the oxygenated blood is going throughout the entire body, from the tip of the fingers to the bottom of the feet to the top of the head, and one can get like a sensation of the the breath like the entire body is breathing. And then, in a way, like saturating the whole physical body with awareness that's riding along on the in and out breath. So this is a very parallel kind of procedure to the loving kindness. It's got this feature of expansion and saturation and connecting to a pleasant Vedana. And the pleasant Vedana is creating a bit of a feedback loop because it's easier not to be distracted with a pleasant Vedana, or it could be with neutral Vedana, that it's not so difficult for the mind to stay there and to rest on the object of meditation. It does sometimes happen that when we come to meditation, that we have unpleasant Vedana because of our life circumstance or because of our physical health. It could be that we've experienced illness or we're experiencing something that's fearful or anxious or a loss, something that's stirred up grief. So it could be that we are dwelling in sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, dwelling in physical pain and the mental reactions to that. As long as we have got, as long as we're on the wheel of samsara, as long as the idea of self has not been eradicated, then the unpleasant Vedana is something that can come to us from time to time. And at that time, it's time to practice with patience and compassion to allow, whatever it is, it's what it is. One suggestion for those painful states is to observe whether those states are staying the same or whether they are changing. And if you do that observation, in a way, you're stepping back from being trapped as a victim of pain, trapped as a victim of suffering, and instead you're taking the position of being the doctor or the scientist, the person who's taking an interest, the person who has compassion for the situation, and you want to just observe what's really happening here. And then it will happen inevitably because of impermanence. I can guarantee you that the extremity of anguish will not be a permanent phenomenon, that from time to time you will forget to suffer and experience happiness. And then you can experience the roller coaster of being in and out of cycling between suffering and happiness, and begin to learn how to make choices. If you want to make progress in meditation, you want to make choices that will not be adding any more energy to repeating your pain or extending your pain. You're not choosing pain. We don't believe in Buddhism that, because of all my bad deeds in the past, then I need to work off all my evil karma by suffering a lot, and through suffering I'm going to obtain liberation. That's not the teaching of Buddhism. The teaching of Buddhism is that liberation is coming from insight, not through payback or something like that. So you are willing to let go of the difficult states. When happiness and tranquility comes to you, you recognize that these states are supports for making progress in meditation. They are supports for success in meditation, and success in meditation is a support for getting into a space where a different kind of insight, a different kind of wisdom can come around for you that will inoculate you against buying in, getting trapped and stuck in a negative or afflictive state. So right effort, the last, there's 4 points of right effort, which is preventing evil and wholesome states of mind from arising. So like greed and anger, resentment, all these things. If you don't know how, you can't control it. So these things did arise for you. Don't blame yourself, but you know that there's no good going to come to you from anger. And see if you can find out how to prevent anger from arising. And it can be something as simple as like having some different ways of thinking to, consider the other person's point of view. It could be something as simple as getting enough sleep, having a good diet, and having some exercise so the body is not ill. And then if the body is not ill, then you don't necessarily fall so easily into these ill states of mind. So find out how to prevent anger. Second point is abandoning the unwholesome states of mind. So, find out how to let go. The third is to arouse the wholesome states of mind that did not exist before. And what I just am speaking to you about in this hour, in terms of arousing loving kindness, is exactly addressing the third point on the right effort. You may not immediately be able to arouse tranquility and loving kindness towards your enemy. But if you start with yourself and your dear ones and neutral people, and kind of get the pattern established in the mind, then you will be able to have arouse loving kindness towards your enemy, or the person who's difficult, or the one who's aggravating you. And if you know how to do that, then it's easy to abandon arisen anger, because you know how to do the replacement. You can replace anger with kindness. Then the last state there is the one which is leading onwards into making further progress in meditation, and that is to develop and sustain the wholesome state of mind that has arisen, to bring it to maturity, to bring it to the full development. So if you have a good intention, but you don't know how to develop it, then it's this weak little thing. And a lot of time people make resolutions. They make New Year's resolution, and then 3 weeks later they've lost it because they didn't know how to sustain and how to develop. Think of your good intention or of your initial thought of kindness as being like a tender new thing. I don't know, a little bird or a little plant that you planted the seed, and this tender young plant is coming along. And so then you got to take care of it, provide the right circumstances, the right nourishment, the right protection, and then to allow it to grow. And then some of us are women. Instead of our manly strength, we can bring out our womanly nourishing character. And we can think of protecting and caring and nurturing our wholesome mind as it grows. And once that wholesome mind has developed some strength, then we can think of bringing out our manly strength and step on the gas and really go with it. And we can think of taking our wholesome states of mind that we've developed, steering them so that they continue to go in the same direction and don't fall in the ditch or don't fall into a distraction. And then keep going, be persistent with our practice, do what we need to do until we get to the goal or the destination or the highest aspiration that we can imagine for ourselves in this lifetime. So this is my meditation advice for you this morning. And I welcome you to continue practicing this morning, and we'll come back at 12:30 in California time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.